Eigen had no issues in taking money from all these risky jurisdictions, but it's being extra careful in giving money away. I think they're right to call a double standard here. You can't have it both ways. To me, that is almost insulting to any Web3 native. If you're giving away points, especially if you have billions of dollars in TVL, $100 million in VC investment, and have either announced or hinted at a token down the line, of course, people are expecting that they'll get tokens corresponding to their points. To put it in crypto terms, this is social consensus. It's learned behavior in a community, and because of that, it's become a social contract. By incentivizing users with points so that they stake their money, but then not following through with their corresponding tokens, EigenLayer has broken a social contract by doing that. Soroban on Stellar, a smart contract platform to build DeFi for the real world. Solana's largest community conference is almost sold out. Keep watching to learn more. Okay, welcome to Crypto with Cami, where we go through all the main headlines in crypto and DeFi in the past week in 30 minutes or less. This is a show for the week starting April 29th. This week we had major headlines around the EigenLayer Airdrop. Aave proposed its V4. We have more details on the SEC investigation on whether ETH is a security, and CC getting a 4-month jail sentence. So let's start with EigenLayer. EigenLayer airdrop tokens this week, and there was a huge backlash. We'll dig into whether this was fair or not in a minute, but first, the details. EigenLayer distributed 5% of its 1.67 billion token supply this week. This was the first phase of its airdrop, and the total airdrop will be for 15% of the supply. Reminder that EigenLayer is DeFi's third largest protocol with $15 billion in total value locked, and it enables users to restake their ETH or liquid staking tokens to earn additional yield by securing applications built on EigenLayer called Actively Validated Services, or AVS. Okay, so back to the airdrop. This was a hugely anticipated event. It basically mobilized an entire sector within Ethereum. Since its mainnet launch last July, EigenLayer has awarded points to restakers based on the size of deposits and how long they've participated in restaking. Then, liquid restaking protocols started giving out their own points, which would compound on top of EigenLayer points to use staking there. So, of course, by now, points have become equal to future tokens in Web3. As airdrop farmers move to stake ETH and liquid staking tokens in EigenLayer and in other liquid restaking protocols to collect points, they all, of course, expected to get tokens in return. So this is in part what's driven over $15 billion to EigenLayer and about $10 billion to the whole liquid restaking sector. So all those traders farming points and staking ETH and LSTs and LRTs had been waiting for this moment. But it was a big disappointment, and the backlash was so intense, it actually pushed Eigen to change the terms of the airdrop on Thursday. You know, these are some of the many tweets. Eigen is the most toxic airdrop of this cycle. People were actually calling the end of points because of EigenLayer. So, you know, people were not happy. So let's go over some of the criticisms that EigenLayer got. People said that 1, EigenLayer excluded liquid restaking protocols from the drop. 2, that Eigen also excluded users from major jurisdictions, including the United States and Canada. 3, that 5% of the tokens were airdropped, and this is too small a percentage. And 4, people also criticized its linear allocation of tokens. Also 5, important one, is that Eigen tokens are initially non-transferable. And I personally have a 6th complaint, which is, did you really have to go out of your way to create yet another reasonably complex crypto term and call your token the Universal Intersubjective Work Token? Completely unnecessary. I'm joking, but also a bit serious. Okay, so let's go over the real criticisms here. The first one, easy to get out of the way, is that EigenLayer excluded liquid restaking protocols from the drop? The answer to that is that they will include these in their phase 2. So reminder, this is just the first phase of their airdrop. So EigenLayer Foundation said it reached out to each LRT project, informing them of their portion of Eigen reserved for phase 2. Each LRT project has been asked to provide a list of wallet addresses and allocations for their users. So people restaking in Renzo, EtherFi, so on, all the liquid restaking protocols, also using Pendle, will get their Eigen tokens, or it's extremely likely they'll get their Eigen tokens in phase 2. Okay, now on to the criticism about users being excluded from countries including the United States, Canada, Korea, Russia, and China. If you look at their terms and conditions, the list is huge of the list of countries excluded, and they say that they are excluding sanctioned jurisdictions subject to be sanctioned, and jurisdictions otherwise considered high risk with respect to the airdrop. So, of course, they are being very cautious because of regulatory concerns. So, in this case, I think criticism is founded, especially with regards to having excluded the US. It's reasonable to believe that at least half of Eigen's TVL comes from US users. I mean, half is just something I'm kind of making up, but looking at website traffic for crypto websites, which is something I'm very familiar with, at least half of traffic comes from the US. That's where active investors in crypto are. That's where people who actually have money to put in these DeFi protocols are. So many people have said Eigen had no issues in taking money from all these risky jurisdictions, but it's being extra careful in giving money away. I think they're right to call a double standard here. You can't have it both ways. Also, I've seen an argument that goes, people are crying because they didn't get an airdrop they were never promised. But please, I mean, to me, that is almost insulting to any Web3 native. If you're giving away points, especially if you have billions of dollars in TVL, $100 million in VC investment, and have either announced or hinted at a token down the line, then of course people are expecting that they'll get tokens corresponding to their points. To put it in crypto terms, this is social consensus. It's learned behavior in a community, and because of that, it's become a social contract. So, by incentivizing users with points so that they stake their money, but then not following through with their corresponding tokens, EigenLayer has broken a social contract by doing that. The next criticism is that only 5% of tokens were airdropped. This is an interesting one. The question is this in line with other airdrops, or is it an outlier? So first thing to keep in mind here is that the total airdrop will be 15% of token supply. So if that were the total share reserved for community, that would be extremely low, because the average token distribution for token communities is about 40%. And that's according to this report by Liquify, a really great report which looks at token distribution over the years since 2017. And since 2019, token distribution for the dApps protocols communities have been around 40%. So EigenLayer is reserving 15% for its airdrop, but it's also reserving 15% of its tokens to community initiatives and 15% to ecosystem development. So adding all this together, that means the EigenLayer community pool equals to 45%. And that's in line with what's been the norm. Now, I haven't seen any details anywhere about what community initiatives and ecosystem development actually is. I'd imagine it's some sort of grant system, but regardless, 45% for community and 15% for the airdrop is not far out of the ordinary. For example, Uniswap's airdrop was 15% of token supply, Arbitrum was 12.75%, Jito was 10%. All the largest airdrops are around this number. ENS was an outlier, and its airdrop was 25% of token supply, but most large project airdrops account for about 15% of token supply. Okay, now going to the next criticism, which is that it was a linear airdrop. A linear allocation of tokens. So that means that eligible wallets receive Eigen proportionally to the points they hold. For example, a wallet holding 100 Eigen points will receive 100 Eigen tokens. The Ethereum Foundation said it chose the linear distribution to prevent civil attacks, where someone could use multiple addresses and bots to claim a disproportionately large share of tokens. And I think that's a fair assessment. But the big criticism here is that small stakers are at a disadvantage. Eigen had initially tried to balance things out for small stakers by setting aside roughly 1% of Season 1 tokens to guarantee that each restaker gets at least 10 Eigen. But after the outcry, they increased this minimum level by 100, meaning all Season 1 users will receive a minimum of 110 Eigen, with the 10 token floor plus the boost of 100 Eigen. So that's fair enough. I think people were happy with that amendment. And then the last criticism they address is that Eigen tokens are initially non-transferable, meaning that holders will not be able to sell their tokens right away.
Protocol 20 introduces Sorbon, which is Stellar's cutting-edge smart contracts platform. This creates new surface area for innovation and provides new opportunities for developers to build protocols and products that create access to everyday financial services. So it means a gradual increase in transaction capacity and a chance to fine-tune applications. And it's the most transformative upgrade to the Stellar network to date. Woohoo!
Now, the reason Eigen said they made their token non-transferable is that they want more community discussion. So before Eigen is made transferable, the community should have an opportunity to provide feedback and determine whether to accept Eigen's novel design. So here we have Eigen recognizing social consensus that we talked about earlier. Eigen also said they wanted key features like payments and slashing to be established before the token is transferable. And finally, they want to enhance decentralization, allowing for broader distribution of Eigen as they go through their different distribution phases of the airdrop. So to me, if they knew that they needed to achieve all these milestones before making the token transferable, then why not wait to launch the token then? Like once these key features are enabled after mainnet launch and all of this. The reason why having the token be non-transferable is problematic, besides the fact that people can't sell and realize their profit right away, is because it gives an unfair advantage to insiders who got larger token allocations and are subject to vesting. Tokens of investors and early contributors are locked for 1 year, after which, for the following 2 and 3 years, 4% of total tokens are unlocked each month. But say EigenLayer had waited for 1 year until the token becomes transferable. That means insiders can start to immediately sell their tokens because 1 year vesting period will be over. That was a big criticism and the big kind of problem with having the token be non-transferable. But Eigen clarified that the lockup countdown starts after transferability. So this 1 year lockup will start after whenever the token becomes transferable. And they also provided a clearer timeline as to when the token will be transferable, saying that the features they want to see enabled for transferability are targeted for the protocol's mainnet launch in September. So roughly, we should expect the Eigen token to be transferable after mainnet launch in September. Okay, so we've gone through the main criticisms to understand whether the Eigen airdrop was fair. And I get why people were upset with the geo-block and lack of transferability, but I don't think it's fair to say that the team was greedy and didn't distribute enough tokens. This airdrop was actually pretty much in line with most large airdrops. Okay, now, what was the actual market impact? Did everyone just rush to ditch EigenLayer? Well, kind of. So, very interesting to see that there was actually a big queue of people leaving EigenLayer after the drop. So almost 14,000 wallets have initiated withdrawal from the protocol. And that accounts to roughly 13% of its user base. But despite the large number of wallets, the pending withdrawal amount is less than 12,000 ETH or 35 million. That's barely 0.25% of EigenLayer's TVL, showing that it's smaller depositors that are leaving the protocol. Similarly, there was some speculation that people would leave liquid restaking protocols now that they got their ETH, and that hasn't been the case. TVL on restaking protocols has remained pretty stable since the Eigen airdrop. Now, putting all this airdrop drama aside, to me the main issue continues to be all these $15 billion in EigenLayer are supposed to be securing actively validated services, AVSs, that we mentioned before, which are pieces of Ethereum infrastructure using EigenLayer. And these AVSs are supposed to pass on yield to restakers. That's the reason why people are restaking their staked ETH in EigenLayer. I think it will take years for these AVSs to actually create enough economic value to deliver these yields. These are all untested new protocols. Most haven't even launched yet. None, I think, have reached product market fit or are seeing any meaningful economic value or transactions going through their network. So the only way to pass on yield to EigenLayer restakers will be to issue more tokens. These AVSs will have to airdrop more tokens in order to pass on yield. So what does this mean? It means that all this multi-billion-dollar DeFi sector is being propped up by tokens that are being printed out of thin air, betting on the promise that someday all this infrastructure will actually provide utility. You know, that's fair enough. People are speculating that this is a huge, game-changing protocol. And I agree. I think it's a big piece of innovation, allowing to leverage ETH security and use it to provide or to outsource security for other pieces of Ethereum infrastructure. So I think the idea is great and really innovative, but it isn't actually happening right now. And there is $15 billion in EigenLayer alone, $10 billion in liquid restaking protocols, all these tokens flying around. So just, people should be aware of the risks and of the fact that this is all extremely speculative at this point. But that's it for EigenLayer. On to other headlines. It was a brutal week for crypto markets. Bitcoin dropped below 60K, ETH dropped below 3K, and this was all driven by waning ETF inflows and also concerns that the Fed will continue on its more hawkish than expected path. That concern was eased to some extent after the rate decision on Thursday, where Powell announced the Fed will keep rates unchanged and that it's unlikely that the next policy rate move will be a hike. But like I said, still pretty down week for crypto. And that's because the meme coin euphoria is wearing off. After the EigenLayer disappointment and other disappointing airdrops, the points and airdrops frenzy is also wearing off. ETF flows are down. The halving is behind us. Looks like ETH ETF won't happen for a while. So there's no real big driver for crypto prices at the moment. Okay, next headline is that Aave, the largest DeFi lending protocol by TVL, has proposed plans to launch a V4 iteration within the next 3 years. So Aave V4 will have a unified cross-chain liquidity layer. So this would aggregate liquidity from across multiple networks within a single protocol, and this would be using Chainlink's cross-chain interoperability protocol. V4 will also feature automated adjustments to its interest rate curve, dynamic interest rate premiums for riskier assets, smart accounts and vaults that allow users to segregate their borrowing activities, plus an updated liquidation engine. Okay, moving on to SynFutures V3. I don't know if you've ever heard of this DEX, but it is at the top of a 24-hour trading volume in CoinMarketCap, beating DYDX and Uniswap. And what may you guess is driving this? Points, of course. So I guess points are not entirely dead. SynFutures announced its Oyster Odyssey points campaign, and that's driving volume on the DEX. Back to EigenLayer, Witness Chain sourced past $5 billion in TVL. Witness Chain is a proof system for decentralized physical infrastructure DePIN networks. So they've now secured 1.8 million ETH worth $5.2 billion. Witness Chain is now the third largest AVS. Back in the airdrops theme, LayerZero Labs, a cross-chain interoperability protocol, completed the first snapshot ahead of its much anticipated airdrop. Now, super interesting, newly published court filings from Consensys against the SEC shows that the SEC has been investigating whether ETH is a security since March last year. The Ethereum 2.0 investigation, as it's called, was approved by a 5-member SEC commission, authorizing SEC staff to subpoena entities involved in ETH trading, including Consensys. Okay, moving on. PayPal integrated with MoonPay, and that means that now the millions of PayPal users now have access to buy, sell, hold, and send hundreds of tokens. Before, PayPal only offered access to Bitcoin, ETH, and its stablecoin PYUSD. Coinbase rolled out support for Bitcoin's Lightning Network, so Coinbase users will now be able to send Bitcoin and make payments via Lightning. On NFT news, Moonbirds soared as Yuga Labs, the owner of the collection, looked to restore NFT holders' IP rights. Also NFT related, Zero X Maki, the SushiSwap head developer, proposed some Ordinals-inspired collection called Heroglyphs to incentivize solo Ethereum stakers. Super interesting. Runes, the Bitcoin-based NFT collection, will now have cross-chain transfer functionality thanks to the Omnity project. And this is really cool. The Ethereum Foundation wants to use AI to de-risk the Ethereum ecosystem. So they are using AI to find any bugs or vulnerabilities in Ethereum code and Ethereum Layer 2 code as well. And last but not least, Binance founder CC got a 4-month prison sentence, which was well below the 36-month requested by the Department of Justice, alleging the scope and ramifications of South's conduct were massive, but the judge decided that 4 months was more than enough. And of course, crypto Twitter was very quick to realize the amazing meme potential of CC getting a 4-month prison sentence. All right, that's it for this week. Tons of headlines. Main thing was EigenLayer Airdrop dominating DeFi chatter this week. Let me know what you thought about the airdrop. Was it fair? Was it not? And hope to see you all next week.